Hello, Maverick traders. Welcome out to your currency recap. It is November 13th. Corey here with you as per usual on Mondays. So as we look at the markets, we're going to go through what meaningful news is out there. There was a credit rating situation with Moody's over the weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about major markets and break down different areas of interest, and then always highlight our best ideas. All right, so let's jump into it and take a look at velocity and where there's areas of interest. So I've had the euro on the bullish list last week. I continue to like it. We'll talk about how it might trade though, because we've come into resistance. The next opportunity I think is in Aussie and Kiwi. We talked about waiting for them to pull back. They have in fact done just that. And I think there's a buy opportunity there. Crypto, we had on the bullish list the past couple of weeks, but I've downgraded that to watching from the sidelines. And if you wanted to shorten crypto, it'd be Bitcoin Cash, which is the clear underperformer. Underperforming currencies, Japanese yen and Canadian dollar. CAD could come back. The oil markets rallied today. Maybe this is a short-term bottom, but I'd much rather play Kiwi and Aussie if you're playing the commodity currencies to the upside. We'll touch on why as we look at the market. So as we look at areas of interest, first, the news of the day. So Pfizer wants in on the weight loss drug market. That seems to be Novo Nordisk is just killing it. Their stock price is screaming higher. This is a concern for other food companies and things like that. But Pfizer wants in on the potential revenues and earnings. And then credit rating agency Moody's is the only one left of the big three that has a AAA rating on the U.S. debt. And they warned on Friday that they might lower that credit rating and that the U.S. has altogether too much debt and so forth. And it's interesting. The markets just shrugged and said, no big deal. That used to be a big news story, not anymore. Markets just shrugged because they said Moody's is not saying anything that everyone hasn't already known. It's already known information. So as we look at the performance today, euro and pound and Aussie outperformed, underperformance in Kiwi and yen. As we look at commodities, gold and oil came back. Now, last week I emphasized that I had a really different outlook, which was, well, the past couple of weeks, that gold and oil looked like they were going to trade lower. I actually like the gold markets here. If you follow Maverick's proprietary system for trading Bollinger Bands, GOLD, gold prices, GLD, which is the ETF, for example, right down there near the lower band and still above the 50 MA. So we've got that oversold condition. Have they come down sharply? Yes. But this could be an interesting area. So where I was negative on these commodities, and we talked about that last week, for example, I'd be more optimistic specifically on gold going forward. Crypto, again, I feel like it's run too far too fast. I'm just not trying to short it, but I think it's going to come back in price. I think you're going to get much better buying opportunities with a little bit of patience, and I think a pullback is coming. The markets will ultimately dictate whether that's a right or wrong view, but I think that pullback and consolidation is upon us. So our market outlook, equity market still remains strong. I made one of my best trading calls of the year 2 weeks ago when I talked about a market rally, and that's exactly what we're seeing into year end. So where does this bring us? Well, you can see the downtrend line. You can see these lower highs. And we've essentially gone up and maybe even above that downtrend line. Now, This wasn't so obvious to people that we were going to rally to the top end of the range when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago down here, but that's what's materialized, and I think there is more upside into year end. So I'm positive on risk taking, like we've talked about the past couple of weeks. Aussie and Kiwi fit that mold, as does the euro for that matter. As we look at the rest of this week, we've got CPI data, and we know how important the inflation numbers are to the Fed's targets and their next policy changes. So expectations are for a very minor uptick in month-over-month CPI, and for the yearly number to drop back down from 3.7 to 3.3. That would be a nice drop back after we've seen that yearly CPI number climbing the past couple of reports. We also have PPI numbers here in the U.S., Empire Manufacturing, retail sales. There's plenty of economics, and then we've got a lot of central bankers talking this week. So there's going to be a lot of talking heads and a lot of potential for them to move the markets in currency land. Now, possible trades. I've talked about this idea that Aussie and Kiwi were likely to pull back in price, and I was going to look to be a buyer. And today is the day. So this is perfect timing. Today, bullish engulfing pattern. Notice the bullish candle that completely engulfs and swallows up the prior day's bearish candle right there at the moving averages. Expectation for me is that this is just a bull pullback and that we should now, it'll move choppily, but we should now be headed right back up to those highs and frankly probably above those highs. So I like Aussie on this pullback. We liked euro, and I mentioned that it was my favorite currency last week. The one that was most poised to go was euro. Well, we've done just that. It's basically been straight up in the air since then. Here's the problem with euro is now we've come headfirst into resistance. So the question is, now that we're back at resistance, well, do we just blow through here, or do we consolidate a little bit, maybe even pull back a little, and then go up and through? Ultimately, I think we're going up and through this zone, but a consolidation, a pullback, something like that would be a welcome sight because that's the pause that refreshes. So I still like euro, I still like Aussie and Kiwi and some of those currencies to the upside. You can pair it up with short even the US dollar, short the Japanese yen is an underperformer. That one is always, a little nerve-wracking because of Japanese policies right now, and also shorting against the CAD, which has been a serial underperformer here of late. So I really like those potential trades. It's the opposite of what I said last week, where euro looked ready and Aussie and Kiwi needed a pullback. Now I think it's the exact opposite. I think euro needs a consolidation or pullback. Aussie and Kiwi look ready. So the long trades, you want to buy Aussie and buy Kiwi is my opinion of the next big move in currency land. So with that, we're here on the 13th. We're going to continue to send end-of-day updates throughout the week. We'll have our trading room this weekend, and we'll keep you abreast on things that we're seeing and opportunities that arise. Hope you've enjoyed this currency recap. Have a great week ahead. We'll see you next time.